Hey folks, good morning. How's everybody doing? I want to thank you for joining me on this little informal talk about UFOs, UAP, aliens, whatever you want to refer to what's being seen in the skies. That just had congressional hearings. The media has begun to cover this seriously, and the ridicule of talking about this subject is starting to go away, which is decades too late, but it is what it is, right? So up front, are UFOs, UAPs, whatever the hell buzzword the government wants to put on them these days, are UFOs real? Yes, 100%. If you don't believe that, then you're pretty naive once you look at all the data in the big picture, right? But for decades, the U.S. government basically went on this campaign to silence people, to ridicule them. They took away any reporting process. So if somebody saw one of these things, who do they report it to? They just shut it down, right? And put a stigma on anybody that opens their mouth, right? Just to destroy the messenger. So over the past decade, since the 40s, people have been scared to speak out. It's a career ender, right? People still believe this. So it's slowly becoming non-taboo to discuss this topic in a serious realm. And there's so many crazies throughout the years that have just ruined the science behind it, to where nobody, especially in politics, wanted to talk about it. If you talked about this as a politician or as a senior member of the military or, well, anybody, they thought you were crazy, right? But let's look at the science. Let's look at some history, and I'm going to give you just a basic, I'm not a scientist. I'm just a redneck from a dirt road in the backwoods of Mississippi, right? I like to keep things simple. Okay, so let's start out and say, go outside, look up at the sky at night, and what do you see? You see billions of stars. What are those stars? It's the equivalent of our sun. There's any number of planets that revolve around those other suns, those stars, and it's an infinite number. We can't count how many stars, how many planets are out there. And then you go look at one of these new images from the James Webb Space Telescope, and space is not like black with some dots for stars. Just go look at those pictures. There's nothing but galaxies after galaxies after galaxies. So if you look at things from just a statistical standpoint, if anybody thinks we're alone in the universe, I think the word is just naive. It's just not a statistical probability that we're the only life forms. And assuming, let's assume, and I think we can safely assume that physics, the laws of physics, the laws of quantum mechanics, which are confusing, right? That means things change. They apply throughout the universe. We don't understand, I think we understand about this much about physics because probably in the grand scheme of things, we're a very primitive species right now, right? Hell, up until, recently in the history of man, hell, we just now figured out electricity. If it weren't for Tesla, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to this camera. Maybe it'd be another couple hundred years before we developed all these electronic gadgets, right? So we're ahead of other civilizations, but we're way behind other civilizations. That's just a statistical probability due to the number of celestial bodies, planets, stars, solar systems, galaxies. It just doesn't make any sense for anybody to think that we're alone in this universe. So people have been seeing objects in the sky for thousands and thousands of years. But what was their only way to record these things that they saw? Either, early man sat around the campfire, they looked and they would tell stories, word of mouth, right? Then it was written down, it was drawn on walls of caves, in artists' rendering of what they saw, because nobody had a camera back then, there were no cameras. So it was just all the person's interpretation of what they saw, whether people believed them or not, right? And so only in recent times, invention of the camera and the video camera, have we started to see real photographic evidence of these objects, these craft that are flying in the sky. So this is nothing new. This is absolutely nothing new. It's not like this just started because people started carrying video cameras and cell phones. This has been going on since the dawn of man and before. So what does that, what can you derive from that? Well, again, it's nothing new. And the Earth is 4.6 billion years old, which is very young when you look at everything else. Modern man, you can argue this up and down, say 2 million years, right? Give or take a million years, because archaeology and everything is always wrong. History is always being updated with new discoveries, new archaeological finds, new technology. I just used 2 million years, but we don't really know. Give or take 10 million years. So these things aren't new. Now, some people argue that what is being seen in the skies is U.S. Military, U.S. government technology. That somehow or another, either the U.S., China, or Russia has developed some type of technology that these craft are able to defy the laws of physics, right? Well, I think that's possible, but it's not. Okay, you have to follow me here. These days, it's possible. But folks, let's go back to World War II. The term Foo Fighters basically derives from Allied pilots seeing all types of crafts while they're going out on these missions. They're seeing UFOs during World War II. Well, what did they think? The U.S. pilots thought it was secret Nazi technology, and the Nazis thought it was secret U.S. technology, and that's what they thought. And the term from the U.S. side was, they called them Foo Fighters. So everybody was witnessing these craft, these UFOs, these UAPs, and had no idea what they were. Just thought they were the adversary's technology. Well, at that time, the United States, Russia, the human race did not have the technology to produce these craft. Whether it was reverse engineered, whether it was some breakthrough technology, we didn't possess that during World War II. But in the same sense, you have pilots from all sides seeing these craft, reporting them, being frustrated, trying to figure out what the hell they were. At that time, we didn't have the technology to reverse engineer any of this. Now, fast forward to Roswell, which was what, 47? This is after we started detonating atomic bombs on the face of the planet. Now, all of a sudden, you have a rash of UFO sightings. Now, this makes perfect sense into a very simplified explanation to a more complicated explanation, right? We set off these nuclear weapons. There's obviously a mass release of energy. And now all of a sudden, we have all these UFOs being reported, being seen, being photographed. The Roswell incident where a crashed craft was supposedly recovered. Okay, well, where's the correlation there? They were already seeing them, but now there's a spike. Well, either A, you can say that some of these craft were merely probes, drones, whatever. I mean, if you're an advanced civilization, you don't have to send people to scope out 10 planets. You just send probes, you send drones, right? And what are they programmed to go after and look at? Probably, you know, major energy sources to see how they can exploit it, to see how they can use it, see how they can study it. So you got these probes flying around. All of a sudden, here we go, start setting off, you know, thermonuclear weapons, atomic bombs, right? And this mass energy release, it attracts these probes. Or if there are beings inside the craft, they're obviously going to go check it out. And there's a huge correlation through data with UFOs checking out nuclear facilities, nuclear missile sites, to the point that on occasion they've actually disabled the weapon systems. And it's quite interesting to listen to the people who are involved with that. I like to listen to the people who are actually there, because the written word can be skewed, all right? Very hard to believe any document anymore, anything that people write. I mean, hell, I can pay somebody in India $8 and they can write me an article about astrophysics in about an hour, right? So it's very hard to believe the written word about anything, but you can go back and watch clips of these folks who were involved with these incidents being interviewed. You know, some of this stuff is in the National Archives. You can listen to that gentleman named Dennis, I can't remember his last name, worked at the funeral home out near Roswell, and listen to his testimony and decide whether or not he's lying or not. There's no, it's not, you're not reading a report. You're looking at the guy, watching his body language, listening to his story, and decide whether or not you believe him. So, now I just lost my train of thought. So, okay, so back to why was there a spike? There seems to be a correlation with setting off all of these atomic bombs. Now, it just, like I said, one simple theory is that the probes are programmed to look for major energy sources, right? And that's what attracted them. Part B, a lot of people say that the aliens or whoever these folks are concerned with man destroying themselves, right? And so that's a theory. Another theory is they're just scanning the technology. Some of these incidents where these craft have flown over U.S. military nuclear facilities, the witnesses said there was a beam of light, sort of like a laser, that shot down and basically scanned it. They think they're scanning it, you know, scanning the technology. But there does seem to be some type of correlation between the UFOs and nuclear weapons and nuclear facilities. So, moving right along. My buddy has a theory, and he's an engineer. He's in his 80s now. Shout out to you, man, if you're watching this. His theory is, okay, that if you look at what they call the grays, right? Boom, I'll put a picture of them on the screen. Many witnesses describe the aliens, so to speak, and this is what they look like, and they call them the grays, right? My buddy's theory is that the grays are us. Okay, they're not extraterrestrial, they're not a species that developed on their own and came here, and that's what they look like. His theory is the grays are us, you know, millions of years ahead of time through evolution. He says that's us. And it's quite interesting to listen to his theory, but when you kind of put two and two together, right? Follow me here. Okay, what did man look like 2 million years ago? And then what does man look like today? And even on this one planet, if we go around the planet, we all look a little bit different. We're all human, right? We all possess the same human traits, but we all look different from different geographical locations on the earth, right? You know, folks from this region might be shorter, folks from this region are a little taller, skin colors vary from white to brown to black, facial features, eye color, hair color, right? So on the earth, in 2 million years, we have a diversity of what our physical appearance is, right? So imagine if for some reason we had to leave the earth and we go to another planet that's in what they call the Goldilocks zone. And if I'm messing some of this up, did I mention I'm not a physicist? The Goldilocks zone is basically, okay, we're the third rock from the sun is this big, and then here's our temperature range, right? And the temperature range is conducive to hosting life. Whether if we go to Mercury, it's too close to the sun, it's too hot for anything to grow. We go all the way out to Pluto. Is that still a planet? Maybe it's not now. I don't know. When I grew up, Pluto was a planet. It's too cold out there, right? So there's a range to keep these temperatures to where life can grow. We call it the Goldilocks zone, if I'm not mistaken. So how many planets and these billions and billions of planets that are out there are just the right distance from the sun? Now, if it's a bigger sun, they got to be further, smaller sun, closer, to maintain the temperatures that we see here on Earth, which sustain life. So say we human beings, at some point in the past, due to either 66 million years ago when this asteroid impacted in the Gulf of Mexico and killed all the dinosaurs and wiped out most of life on Earth. Well, say humans were around at that time and they knew it was coming and they were more advanced than we are now and they left the Earth. So for 65 million years, we, our ancestors, have been living on another planet, right? That had a similar atmosphere, has a similar atmosphere to Earth in the Goldilocks zone. But is that planet going to have the exact gravity that the Earth has? And the answer is probably not. No, it's either going to be, let's use simple terms, it's going to be more gravity or less gravity. What happens if it's less gravity? Through time, there's less gravity, number one. B, the technology is advanced to where people aren't doing any heavy lifting anymore, right? I mean, look at where robotics is now. I mean, we don't carry things down the road. We put it in a car. Eventually, the robotics are going to catch up to where the robots around the house are going to do all the heavy lifting. So what does that do if you're on a planet with less gravity, with technology to do all the heavy labor? Your bone structure no longer needs to support a bigger body, right? It's going to start decreasing. In other words, you're going to start getting smaller and your muscles are going to start getting smaller because you're not doing any damn heavy lifting. And so take a look at these grays, right? What do they look like? They look like us, humans, modern humans, who have been living somewhere with less gravity, doing zero manual labor because they have the technology in the form of whatever, robotics, to do all the work. And that's what you get, right? Testosterone levels today, as I speak, in the younger generation of males are plummeting. And you can see this, and I mean, science has proven it. It's common knowledge among the scientific community. I'm not making this up. And it's not the same as my generation or before. Our testosterone levels are up here. Our sperm counts are up here. These 20-year-old, what I call them Call of Duty skinny jean wearing shitheads, right? They don't have the same drive to go out and chase women like my generation and the older generation did and does. I think it's because A, they're wearing these skinny jeans, which are too tight. It's cutting off the circulation and the blood flow to their balls. Number two, they got a fucking warm laptop sitting in their lap, probably 8-10 hours a day, playing their goddamn video games and dreaming about being a crypto millionaire and a CEO, right? And then the Wi-Fi, the radiation, is going right through their balls. So the balls are getting radiated, they're getting choked off, and they're getting boiled. I mean, those laptops get hot, right? That's why they call them lap warmers. And also, just they're sedentary, is that the word? They just sit around in the basement all day eating Cheetos, drinking their energy drinks, frying their nuts. I think that's a big part of it, right? And so the lack of activity, lack of production of testosterone, it's just going down. So you look at this younger generation, and when I look at these kids wearing these skinny jeans, you're like, they got no ass. You know what I mean? It's like this. Just look at these kids walking around. The back of their skinny jeans are just so baggy. It's like they don't even have a fucking ass anymore, right? What are they starting to look like? They're starting to look like these grays, these images of everybody who's ever had any type of contact. This is what they describe. Why are their eyes big, right? Well, what do we do most of the days now? We sit here and we stare at a screen. We're staring at a screen, looking at these small letters, and maybe that's what happened to them through evolution. That's why their damn eyes are so big, because they're just constantly staring at, you know, pieces of technology. And maybe that evolves into where they don't, where, you know, like Elon Musk is working on this technology now to embed shit in your brain, Bluetooth, what have you, where you don't have to physically look at a screen. You just think about it. It's all in your head, right? But that's my buddy's theory, is that the grays are us fast forward in evolution. And again, how does that happen? Well, Bob Lazar, if you're not familiar with Bob Lazar, you should really watch those old interviews. He's the one who's responsible for basically revealing Area 51 and what he said, and maintains to this day that the U.S. government has 9, at the time, late 80s, had 9 recovered craft in various states of repair. Some of them were like brand new, some of them were damaged, what have you, at a place called S4, which is just south of the runway in the main area of Area 51. And everybody thought he was crazy. Everybody tried to debunk him, still trying to debunk him, even though more and more evidence is piling on. I believe what he says. There's actually a video where he took his neighbors out and they were like, you know, filming a test flight. That's how they got caught. But what does the U.S. government do? If they don't like your message and they can't attack the message, they attack the messenger. They discredit the messenger. That is their tactic. Look at Julian Assange, WikiLeaks founder, right? They couldn't attack his message because all he was doing was he received documents through whistleblowers and he published it. You can't attack the message. They had to go after the messenger and demonize the messenger. So next thing you know, they trump up this bogus rape story over in Sweden, and then the rest is history. That's the perfect example. It's the same way with Edward Snowden, right? I mean, they destroy your credibility, and then they put the focus on the messenger. That's what they do. So anyhow, that's what Bob Lazar said. That they had 9 craft, and he was involved in a program to try and reverse engineer this technology, right? Now that's in the 80s. So assumably, the U.S. government started collecting these craft at Roswell. That's probably like when it begun. And they have this. Well, in the 80s, they were probably still trying to figure this shit out. But look where technology is today. So between then and today, maybe, just maybe, they've figured out how to operate some of these craft, maybe how to reverse engineer some of these craft. I don't think so, but I think it's a possibility that you have to remain open. You have to remain open to. If you don't believe any other stories, what I recommend you do is just listen to Commander David Fravor. It's called the Nimitz incident back in '04, when two of our F-18s, brand new aircraft, doing train ups off of the coast of California and Mexico, encountered this Tic Tac. They call it a Tic Tac. You have 4 naval aviators about to deploy to the Middle East, wherever they were going. They're doing a workup, and they encounter this UFO that exhibited flight characteristics that no other aircraft could do. It was, stopping on a dime, immediate acceleration. If you don't believe anything else, you listen to that guy, and then eventually the other pilot came out, female, and told the story. Nobody wanted to tell the story. Why? Because it's career ending, right? But you listen to their stories, and you listen to everybody involved in that, and you have to be a believer. Because these aren't people wearing tinfoil hats. These are people that were trained on the latest F-18, about to go to war, that we trust, that we've trained, that have clearances, that have careers, that wouldn't say this shit if it weren't true. Oh, by the way, there's radar data. And he made a statement. He said, there's thousands of people in that carrier strike group, and everybody knew about it. But who's talking about it? Not many people. Because again, until recently, if you talked about this shit, your career was fucking over. That's how they silenced you. They just silenced the messenger. They scare you. And really what the government does is they scare you about your clearance. Okay? If you screw up this much, you give assholes a reason to pull your clearance. And that clearance means your job. It means your promotion. It means money. If they pull your clearance, you're not employable in a lot of these positions, right? And that's how the U.S. government, at least, just puts a fucking choke on anybody in that industry and controls you. They don't even have to give you a good reason. Just keep your fucking mouth shut, or you lose your clearance. Then you can't pay your bills. That's why people don't talk out. Once people retire and they're no longer concerned with their clearance, then they're not worried about it. But your clearance equals your job, career, paycheck, and it's very easy for somebody to fuck up your clearance on anything, right? They can focus on anything. And that's how people are silenced. But watch these videos with Commander David Fravor in the interviews, and you have to be a believer. Okay, you have to. This guy ain't got nothing to gain. He's retired. He was witness to this craft and its abilities and technology. And if you don't believe him, then there's no way that anybody's ever going to convince you. You're just always going to be a skeptic, right? But that guy, out of all the other witnesses, you can't discredit what he's saying. Oh, by the way, there's radar data to back it up, right? They've been seeing these things for 2 weeks. From 80,000 feet, basically outer space, down to 20,000 feet like that. They've been seeing them for weeks before they sent this guy out there and he actually saw it, and then later on it's on video. So, is that U.S. government technology? This day and age, again, it's a possibility. But what Bob Lazar, he brought up this element 115 when he first came out decades ago, and now there actually is an element 115. So back to the theory that these grays, that a lot of this technology that we're seeing is actually us, just in a different, advanced, what's the word? Evolutionary state? No, maybe that. Oh yeah, evolutionary state. We're only working with, 118 elements on the periodic table, or is it 119? I think it's 118, right? So we have 118 elements in order to work with, right? To build things, to make things. But that doesn't mean that there's only 118 elements in the universe. So say us, for some reason, we had the technology, 60 million years ago. Let's just use this theory. We knew that the asteroid was coming. We did live before the dinosaurs, and we had to get the hell off the X. People had to leave the Earth. They go to this new planet, and all of a sudden, there's 250 elements there that we didn't have here on Earth. So all of a sudden, this element 115, which is it either doesn't occur naturally here, it doesn't occur naturally on Earth. And if we manufacture it, it'll only stay stable for a short period of time. Say we go to this other planet, and all of a sudden there's element 115 laying around everywhere. Now you have the fuel source to make all of this high technology to work. And the way he described how these craft fly, how they go like this and this and this, what they're doing is they're amplifying. They have gravity amplifiers on board. And the way Bob Lazar describes it, there's two forms of gravity, right? Gravity A and gravity B. Gravity B is like the gravity here on Earth, which you can temporarily defeat by jumping up and down, right? You jump up, you defeat gravity, but you're going to come back down. Versus gravity A, which can be amplified and become very powerful. So in other words, from going from point A to point B in the universe, you're not traveling that linear distance. You're bending space-time because you're amplifying gravity. But it takes such an immense power source to be able to do this. That's the problem. But if you go to another planet and there's element 115 that occurs naturally and it's everywhere, well, now you don't have the power source problem. And so, again, going back to my buddy's theory, for some reason, ancient man had to get off the X, went to another planet, evolved, and what they're doing is just coming back here and looking at the remnants of themselves that didn't evolve at the same pace. Does that make sense? And if you're on this other planet, and there's 8 billion of us here, you just can't come over here and pick up 8 billion and say, hey, come over there. They've evolved for millions of years. I'm sure the atmosphere is different. The gravity is different. It's not conducive to just pick us up and take us over there, right? If that's the situation. But they're keeping an eye on us. Now, that might sound far-fetched, but look here on the Earth. There are uncontacted tribes here on the Earth that have been living in the Amazon or living on this island that have never seen any form of modern technology. When a plane flies over, they probably think it's some type of god. That's here on the Earth in the year 2023. We still have uncontacted tribes, have no idea about any type of technology. Brings back a story a buddy told me, I guess back in the 80s, whatever. He had a Walkman. No, not a Walkman. He had one of them little compact disc players. Maybe it was the 90s. And he was down somewhere in the Amazon, and he was around this tribe. They'd never seen any technology, and he put a DVD in there, and it was some action movie. Everybody's gathering around this little magic box, and he hit play. And, there was some gunfire or something. Somebody got shot on the movie, what have you. And he said they were absolutely terrified. They were absolutely terrified because they thought that the people inside that little, you know what I'm talking about, them little like clamshell DVD players, we used to carry around. He said they were absolutely terrified. They thought that people inside there had actually died right in front of them. And they thought that they were next. And he said after it was over, it took a long time to calm them all down and everything. He said, what an asshole I was. I thought I was just showing them, hey, some technology. I didn't realize how they would interpret that technology because they'd never fucking seen it before. He said, I emotionally traumatized the folks in that tribe probably till the end of their lives because of what I showed them. And so even here on Earth, the technology gap from, you know, nations that have a space program to uncontacted tribes, when they see that technology, they may as well think they're looking at alien technology, right? But it's just, we're all humans. So that's one theory. One theory is that all these UFOs and everything is just us, humans, from way back in the day that advanced somewhere else, and now they're coming back, and we're just slowly coming up, if that makes sense. I was watching this clip on Joe Rogan where they were showing this this chimpanzee hanging off of this vine with a spear. He's fishing with spears. And what they're saying is a lot of these wild primates are coming into the Stone Age. Even though they're living out in the wild, whatever, they're slowly progressing to where they're using more tools. All this is happening here on Earth, right? So why would we not believe that there is a part of us that's smarter than the smartest people here on Earth? And so that's one theory, that they're not extraterrestrial, they're just us. Now in these hearings, they keep using the term non-human biologics. And I'm not sure exactly why he focuses on that term, non-human biologics. That's very interesting. And folks, again, listen, I'm not saying 100% that what's being seen in the sky is us. I'm just saying that's one plausible explanation. I just told you there is other life out there. You cannot look up at the sky at night and say we're the only life forms in the universe. That doesn't make any sense at all. So I'm not saying my buddy's theory is 100% correct, although it is plausible. One thing that Bob Lazar said, he said that at least one of these craft were found in an archaeological dig. In other words, it's ancient. Okay? But what we think is that today, 2023, is the highest level of technology that humans have ever achieved. And I think that's wrong, because the Earth is 4.6 billion years old, right? We've only been around for 2 million years, and now we have technology where we're at. Well, what if we had been around for, 50 million years when the dinosaurs got wiped out and that incident, right? So we had 50 million years of evolution in technology, and then here comes this big ass asteroid, it's a planet killer, right? And we got off the X. So even though it was 66 million years ago, they were 50 million years ahead of where we are now. That's mind-boggling, right? But think, if they got these craft out of an archaeological dig and they were ancient, they were 66 million years old, but they're 50 million years ahead of today's technology. That would explain it. Which leads me to Antarctica. Okay, I think a lot of the secrets to what I'm talking about lie underneath the ice in Antarctica. And there's theories about how Antarctica used to be basically where everybody lived. It was inhabitable, and then there was a pole shift, and almost immediately now Antarctica becomes a frozen paradise that it is, and then other areas of the globe become inhabitable. Something that happens very quickly. It's called a pole shift, right? And obviously there's a lot of theories that a pole shift is going to happen again at some point. But I think the key to a lot of these secrets lie underneath that ice in Antarctica. Could there be an advanced civilization living under that ice? I mean, there's a close association with all these craft in the oceans. I mean, who knows? Antarctica it's not like a small place, right? Who knows what's going on down there underneath the ice? But if you watch some of these videos, these craft, have been seen observed going into the ocean. They're transmedium, right? They can go from space to into our atmosphere to underwater. It doesn't seem to affect them. So this theory that there's underwater bases, it's not too far-fetched. Or if there are civilizations living under the ice in Antarctica, how do we know? There's only a handful of people down there exploring things. You know, we know so little about the oceans. We know so little about Antarctica. Is it possible? Why not? You're seeing these things in the area. You're seeing these things go in the ocean. And we know nothing about the ocean. It's just too big. Are these craft real? Yes. Obviously they're real. This isn't something new. When you listen to the Navy pilots tell you that these craft were able to disable radar, in other words, actively jam their radar, that these craft have actively either taken nuclear missiles offline, or in the case in Russia, they put them online. That's scary as shit. Disabling a few, okay. But the case in Russia, they like made them hot. Why are they doing that? Are they just scanning? Is it just a test? Is it a fucking message? I don't know. Okay, does the government know more than they're telling us? Quite obviously, the government lies. If you believe anything the United States government tells you, you're a fool. Okay, let's get that straight, right? Of course, they fucking lie about everything. Everything. Because they just want to retain their power. Any politician, what does he want? He wants to be elected for another term. That's all they care about, right? So, of course, everything that's come out of the U.S. government is a fucking lie. Roswell was a lie. You can listen to the guys and gals who were involved in that incident, and 100% you know that the weather balloon story was just a fucking lie. What I've always said is, if you agree with the U.S. government's version of history, they will call you an historian. Okay? If you disagree, they label you a conspiracy theorist. Disagree with any version of the United States government version of events, they just call you a conspiracy theorist and say that your shit's been debunked. And half the population will fucking believe them. So these guys testifying before Congress, let's talk about them. Folks, they just went on the record. They went on the record, and now, if anything is proven to be false, or they're proven to be lying, they can go to jail. Do you think these three guys, you think these people that testify before Congress are going to take time out of their life to go up there and perjure themselves with all these investigative reporters and all the power of the U.S. government to prove them wrong and put them in jail? You think they're going to take that risk? The testimony that those guys gave is what they know. Now, if they're basing some of the stuff off of documents and stuff, maybe the documents are not correct. But they saw a document that says this. That's what he testified to. So they're all telling the truth. Whether or not the documents and some of the data that they saw, I mean, who knows? But you're still not going to discount that F-18 pilot who engaged that tic-tac and basically got dominated. I think that's one of the words that was used. They were dominated in that fucking dogfight. If it had been a dogfight, they were dominated. And those were the latest and greatest versions of F-18s back in 2004. So whoever possesses this technology and can harness it and figure out a way to use it as to release a weapon system, they'll dominate any conflict, right? Now, not to get too far into the science, right? But when these craft create their own gravity field, I'm just wondering if the problem they have turning this into like a fighter jet, right? Is once these things create their own gravity field, how do you release a weapon from that? Because they're basically in their own little world at that point. That's why inertia doesn't apply. That's how they're able to go from 0 to 1,000 miles an hour like that, and nobody gets squished inside. Because inside, inertia doesn't apply. But I'm wondering if that's why you can't, they haven't figured out how to weaponize these things, because if you're inside that gravity field, how do you release a missile? How do you drop a bomb outside of that, right? What happens? That's just my own curiosity. Because if the US has learned how to reverse engineer this technology, and China and Russia does not have it, we win. We're going to dominate everything because of this technology, because of this propulsion system. But if you can't figure out a way to turn the damn thing into a cruise missile or a bomb or drop bombs, then it's useless, right? I mean, yeah, you can get there and take a look, but what, anyhow, just thinking out loud. So I don't know what y'all think about it, but this is my position, and it's been my position for many reasons. Yes, other life exists in the universe. Have they visited Earth? The probability is yes. Do these craft that are being seen in the skies, are they real? Yes. Are they alien technology? 50-50. It's either our technology from man who has been somewhere on another planet and evolved for 50 million years versus our 2 million. Is that a possibility? Yeah. And it's something that, I think everybody wants to know the truth. Everybody wants to know the truth. That's all I want to know. And it's not just this. I think people are just so tired of the government lying to us about bullshit. Just stop the fucking lies. Everybody's, oh, it's national security. Just stop the fucking lies. People are just tired of being lied to about everything. And that's all, especially the United States government. That's all they do is just tell fucking lies. Just put shit out there that ain't true. Discredit messengers that don't agree with their fucking agenda. Make platforms disappear posts and shadow ban people and all that shit. I think humanity just, at least Americans, we're just tired of being fucking lied to by you assholes up there. And these presidents who don't get read in on these programs, you come to realize that the U.S. is not really a democracy. Just like the congressman and the congresswoman who went down to Florida to the Air Force Base just recently, right before this hearing. And the military didn't want to fucking show them the data. Didn't want to let them interview the flight crew or see the photo that they took of this recent UFO when they're about to have UFO hearings. Like you said, we had to remind them how democracy works. You answer to the elected officials. Unfortunately, that's not how the U.S. government works. If you get down into the ground truth. These government agencies and these contractors, they don't answer to elected officials. They buy elected officials and pay them to keep their fucking mouth shut. But even when it comes down to it, they don't listen to what the fuck they say. Anyhow, folks, I hope you enjoyed this. I could talk about this every day, all day. I watch a lot of documentaries. I do a lot of research on this topic. And I just think at this point, anybody who thinks all this shit is a hoax, you're not looking at the data. You're not following the facts. And so if some government asshole stands up there and says, oh, it's a weather balloon or swamp gas or, you know, ice crystals, they're just pulling the wool over your eyes like they've done since the 40s. Just bullshitting you. Okay? The shit's real. We just want to know who's behind it, who's fucking driving the damn thing, where they come from. Just share the fucking data. We can handle it. Motherfuckers. All right, I'm not going to get off on politics, right? But that's my 2 cents, folks. And I ain't even drinking. I'm stone cold sober. I've been sitting here drinking I was drinking a coffee a minute ago. Now I'm drinking a Red Bull with some water. And that's it. Leave your comments down below. Whether you're a believer, whether you're not, whether you're a witness. I hope that before I take a dirt nap, before I die, that full disclosure comes out. I really do. I think it's sort of it's trickling now. Even the movies are starting to condition humans to, you know, everything from Independence Day, those types of movies. I think it's a slowly drip feed disclosure because they know at some point they just can't keep the lie going. You know, if there were no cameras and no video cameras, well, the government could keep this lie going forever. They just don't believe you. But now everybody carrying a fucking video camera in their pocket, there's just it just becomes too much to cover up the lies. And so I think there's a slow drip feed. Now we're in the congressional hearings. I don't know, 5, 10 years maybe it's full disclosure. Yes, this is what's been going on, and this is what we've been doing. We recovered these craft. We found them in Antarctica. We've been reverse engineering this stuff. We can't figure it out, or we did figure it out, whatever the scenario is. We've known about this. There was nothing we could do. We didn't want to create panic. Full disclosure. Maybe in 10 years. What do you think? I'm hoping it's sooner than that. I just hope it's within my lifetime. All right, folks, I'm out of here. Thank y'all for joining me on this little discussion. Are UFOs real? Yes, absolutely, 100%. I'm out of here.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet I ask you, is not an alien force already among us?
They exercise strict control over us.
Now, you know, there are a lot of people that are going to examine your facial expressions here, every twitch, everything, and say, and of course, so did you look? Did you see? Did you explore?
I can't reveal anything.
Oh, really? Because President Clinton said he did go right in, and he did check, and there was nothing.
Well, you know, that's what we're instructed to say.
All right, you're in office, and I don't know when this happened or if it happened. Did you go through the secret files, the UFO documents? Because if I was president, that'd be the first thing I did.
You know, it's funny. My daughters asked the very same question.
They did?
Yeah.
Would you be allowed to tell your daughters what was in those files?
No.
You would not?
No.
Now that you're out of office, you can do anything you want, right?
True, yeah. But I'm not telling you.
You're not telling You're not telling me what? Are you not telling me that you looked at them?
I'm not telling you nothing.
Are there really great secrets that you know that you can't share with people?
Yeah.
Yeah, there are. And you would never write about them?
No.
Maybe at a time in your life that
No.
you're like, oh, I'm 90, I'm going to do it.
No.
No, nothing. What if you were to get like a little like loopy, you know? You get old and...
Start drinking again?
Start drinking again. Guillermo, get some tequila.
Yeah. You want to? Reggie, do you have a question for our guest this evening?
Yes, I do. Tonight's question is... Hello.
Hi.
With the recent release of Pentagon footage of unidentified aerial phenomena, and things like Project Blue Book and ATIP and all of these various things. In your former position and currently with the current information that's released, what's your viewpoint on what these objects that seem to defy all laws of physics are?
Well, first of all, that's a legitimate question now. And the short answer, but not the most meaningful one, is I don't know about this. But when I was president and I had a chief of staff, John Podesta, who loved science fiction, we made every attempt to find out everything about Roswell. And we also sent people to Area 51 to make sure there were no aliens in a deep, because Area 51 is very important.
Who do you send to Area 51?
Oh, if I told you that. No, actually, I sent my Sandy Berger, who passed away sadly a couple of years ago, who was my national security advisor. But I said, we got to find out how we're going to deal with this, because that's where we do a lot of our invisibility research in terms of technology. Like, how do we fly airplanes that aren't picked up by radar and all that? So that's why they're so secretive. But there's no aliens, as I know. On the other hand, Hillary and I went to Hawaii in 2018 to the Big Island, where all the telescopes are on top of the mountain, you know, including the Keck telescope, the largest in the world. And several countries have scientific teams there. So after we toured the telescope, we went down and met with them. And I said, do you guys argue about the likelihood of life in outer space? He said, we have huge arguments. I said, you do? He said, oh, huge. I said, what's the range? He said, there are those of us who think it's 85% likely, and those of us who think it's 95%. He said, these are people who spend their lives doing this. He said, we think, in other words, it's very unlikely that there is not life. There are a billion, not a billion planets, a billion solar-like systems. There are lots of mysteries out there, which is why I think we should take good care of this planet. I think we ought to kind of hang on to it if we can. And I think, but I also think it should keep us humble. There's a lot of stuff we don't know.
Ladies and gentlemen, President Bill Clinton.
Before you leave office, will you let us know if there's aliens? Because this is the only thing I really want to know. I want to know what's going on. Would you ever open up Roswell and let us know what's really going on there?
So many people ask me that question.
I know, it sounds almost ridiculous, but it's actually the real question I want to know.
It sounds like a cute question, but it's actually, there are millions and millions of people that want to go there, that want to see it. I won't talk to you about what I know about it, but it's very interesting. But Roswell's a very interesting place with a lot of people that would like to know what's going on.
So you're saying you may declassify?
Oh.
You'll take it?
Well, I'll have to think about that one, right?
3, 2, 1, 0. 60 seconds.
I saw this illumination that was moving with respect to the stars. We were smart enough to not say, Houston, there's a light out there that's following us. So technically, it becomes an unidentified flying object.
While Neil and Buzz were on the lunar surface, Neil switched to the medical channel and spoke directly with the chief medical officer, saying, they're here, they're parked on the side of the crater, they're watching us.
When it comes to aliens, there's some things I just can't tell you on air.
He was asked about the UFO frenzy in the wake of that explosive 60-minute story on Navy pilots who've seen things they just can't explain.
It's rotating. My gosh. They're all going against the wind. Look at that thing, dude.
Obama revealed to James Corden he was eager to find out about real close encounters when he became president.
Truth is that when I came into office, I asked, right? I was like, all right, you know, is there the lab somewhere where we're keeping the alien specimens in spaceship? they did a little bit of research, and the answer was no.
But that doesn't mean we're alone in the universe.
There's footage and records of objects in the skies that we don't know exactly what they are.
And now that UFOs are being taken more seriously, more people are coming forward with their own sightings. Shaquille O'Neal told Jimmy Kimmel he's certain he's seen a UFO.
With all the lights, and it was spinning, and it just and took off, and everything happened in less than 5 seconds, and we all looked at each other, was like, and I know that it was a UFO. I don't care what anybody says.
You never told anybody about that?
Nope, you're the first person I told, because I don't want people to think I'm crazy. But
Right.
What astonished you the most about the flight capabilities of these Tic Tac, very briefly?
The performance. Absolute performance. It was...
And you're not aware of any other objects that anybody in the world has, in this world, that has those capabilities?
No, I think it's far beyond, actually, our material science that we currently possess.